Be here today, man. It's such a pleasure. So I know last week we connected and we were on, and then there was a lot of buffering. So we've sorted out all of those technical issues. We're all trying to, get with the program, the digital program, and this is exactly why we actually have this show, so we can expand our knowledge and get to understand, what this new digital world that we've all been thrust into is actually all about. So today is a very exciting day. I am super excited, and I'm actually more honored than I am excited to speak to this particular person. So, I've had the privilege for many years to, get to know important and amazing people from all around the world in the broadcasting industry. And this particular person is one such important person. I mean, he is a powerhouse. Let me tell you, he has won several awards, including the Billboard Magazine Program Director of the Year, Inc. Radio Best Program Director in America, Living Legend recipient. He's an all-round inspiration, and he has taken time off his busy schedule to talk to us today and to empower us and help us get to understand the industry better and the future of this industry a lot better. So, without further ado, I am going to introduce this incredible person. He's the VP at MS Communications, the programs director and programs manager for the leading urban radio stations in America, WLIB, WBLS. He's part of an amazing, just a team of people who are making sure that Black business, thrives, not just in America, but around the world. He is an incredible person, and I'm so honored to introduce you to him when we come back from here.
I'm Skip Dillard, Program Director of WBLS and WLIB, and you are locked. For me, radio is about having a voice. It's about being able to affect people, change communities. And probably for me, I was so drawn in to radio growing up. It was such a big part of my life that it was something I always had an interest in. Did not even know if I would pursue it as a career. Didn't know how to at the time, but as a kid, it's something I always seemed to see as more of a friend than a static thing.
Hey. Wow, I ain't seen that video in a long time.
Yeah. How are you, Skip? Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so privileged to be here, and great to see you again, and continued success. I know I was just there in Joburg last year and had a wonderful time, and was planning on being there again this year. But you know what? Things tend to change once in a while.
Yeah. I think we should actually take it back and, reintroduce you, because you are an amazing person. I mean, you're one person that I constantly, contact and I ask, and, you're my unofficial mentor is what I call you, because,
Oh, thank you.
you're a person of such high caliber, but you really are such a down to earth person. And the way that I met you was quite incredible. I mean, I was in New York, and then I was there for one meeting or the other. And, I got to meet you and other incredible people from MS Communications. And, from that moment, you just remained such an incredible down to earth person who is so easily approachable. And you continue to inspire us in the work that you do. Can you just tell us a little bit about what it is that you do?
Sure. A program director, in a way, is a quality control person. He or she's responsible for, of course, the ratings on the station, but most importantly, what determines the ratings, which lead to ad revenue, and that's the overall sound of the station, its brand, its mission, its direction, uh, its format, meaning that what is it about? Does it play rap music? Does it play
Yes.
R&B? Does it play country? Does it play Mexican music? So you have to be, kind of a jack of all trades in a way. You have to be a community ambassador. You have to get out. I always tell people, research on paper, you're always going to need data. and tons of it. But the best program directors that I ever met and that mentored me, they went to the festivals, they went to the remotes, they were in the clubs, they were in the streets, they took the temperature of the room day to day,
Yeah.
out among the people, and that's where you really learn who it is you're serving, and not only what they want, but what they actually need, that you pretty sure they will appreciate.
Yeah. And I mean, I love how you talk about serving people what they want and what they need, which is at the core of radio. And I mean, radio as a terrestrial medium has, metamorphosized. And now we're on a bigger scale, where it's a multimedia platform and we have to. We cannot ignore that. I mean, as much as it's hard to transition into that, radio is trying its best. What are you doing as a programs manager, for your stations to ensure that there's this multimedia development and you're moving with the times?
Well, you're constantly kind of doing a self check with your talent, and with the presentation of the radio station. I'm privileged to work for two brands with WLIB and WBLS, and also, have some minor involvement with Hot 97. And,
Yeah.
Hot's been around since 1994, BLS has been around since 1974, and WLIB since 1972. And BLS and LIB were both Black owned from 1972 until about 2011. So that was a long history of being born in Harlem, USA, and New York City, where the stations they originated there. And eventually, as they say, now we're in the big leagues, and they moved down Second Avenue near the United Nations, and then wound up where all the big money in New York is, the old money on Park Avenue. So it was a
Yeah.
success story in itself. And so I'm just a steward of a long line of people that have been blessed to be able to maintain the history while staying relevant. And to answer your question, it is truly with our brands, it's maintaining the history while staying relevant. Our senior vice president that handles Hot 97, he has a probably a tougher job than I do, because hip hop audiences tend to be quite fickle, and the
Yeah.
music more cyclical. I can always fall back on the oldies if the current music coming out isn't up to what it probably should be. With hip hop, you're kind of prisoner to what hip hop is doing, and if there's a lot of great innovative music coming out, wonderful. If there's a whole lot of trap music that only a certain number of people are into, you got a problem. And you can only go
Yeah.
back so far. So, hip hop listeners tend to be quite different. And a good program director, I mean, if I had to step in and run Hot, I would know what to do. If I had to step in and run a country station, it's simply surround yourself with the people who know the format, live and breathe it, help them, support them, get out with them, and learn that audience. I don't know country music very well, but if I had to, I know, hey, I'd figure it out. Rock, same thing, because I've always believed in, I'm only as good as the people I surround myself with and learn from.
Yeah. I love that. And I mean, you're talking about the audience. And when we look at the situation right now where radio is concerned and the terrestrial platform that it is, we find that, there's a shift in the way people are consuming. People have other options now. How is radio staying relevant at a time like this?
Well, I mean, it's what you do, personality. It's
Okay.
being able to reach and touch people. The one advantage that radio has over Spotify, over Apple Music or Tidal or whatever we're using at the moment,
Yeah.
is the fact that we do have that human connection. Anybody can pull up any song anywhere in the world. If you can't find it on a streaming service, you can get it off YouTube. But the difference is our ability to give great information, entertainment, the ability to relate to people who say, "Wow, she's a mom and a wife doing the same thing I've got to do," and all of a sudden there's that human connection. And also, it's interesting.
Yeah.
People tend to be lazy. They enjoy having their music curated for them. And I was
Yes.
reading an article the other day that I
Are there
thought
playlists? Aren't there playlists for that?
playlist for that. But the beautiful thing is that the element of surprise. Once you have your playlist, you pretty much know after listening to it twice or three times what's coming next. And I think the excitement about radio is having the presentation of music as to hit you with that element of surprise. And hearing the right song at the right time. Maybe you've had a rough day at work and you're coming home and that song hits that's your favorite. And it has the same principles of some points, sometimes almost meditation, and the element things that you do that bring blood pressure down, that
Yeah.
loosen the blood vessels, and music can do that. And so I think the element of surprise with music is done well, and people take time. The music director, program director with the music log, I spend usually an hour for each log I schedule, just going through everything, and not just trusting the computer, but making sure the human touch is
Yeah.
there. That one song follows another, and you're not going from, I don't know, Al Green to Kanye West.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Although, I mean, the new Kanye West is a
Where,
totally different vibe
where he
altogether.
is today, we don't know if he's coming back either. 'Cause he's been out.
Now, I mean, you speak about music content, especially at a time like this with the pandemic. And I mean, the US elections, we just had our by elections as well this week here in South Africa. Content plays a huge role as well. I mean, what's the importance of local content? And how have you seen it really play a huge role in things like the elections and like getting information, dispersing information regarding the pandemic?
Well, we knew in New York by, I'd say, early March that we were, bullseye for a massive hit from COVID. And so, we
Yeah,
immediately started preparing, number one, to work remote, meaning we had to upgrade our technology. Number two, we had to support our DJs. Some of them by July had lost friends and family members. And
yeah,
our DJs in many ways, and it's the same for you in Johannesburg or Cape Town or wherever Air Talent are. You guys fall into the first responders category.
yeah,
You're still
yeah.
going
We call them essential
essential
services.
services. That's what you are.
Yeah.
And so we, really work to take care of our essential service people. We had looked at for a time, even having our staff station vehicles pick them up for work if they had to come in the studio. Several people were able to take our station vehicles home. We were paid. I had to check with our insurance. We reimbursed Uber and got people off transit. And overall, our big thing in the U.S., and hopefully this will change with Mr. Trump being done, was non-factual
Well, hopefully.
information. We were on the air every quarter hour telling people, put your mask on, Jesus. Um, that was
Yeah.
important. We were also telling people what COVID was, because I think until probably the end of June, it was very similar to, as a kid, I remember the HIV scare, and people didn't want to go in the men's bathroom or women's bathroom. Oh, I'll catch
Yes.
HIV in my toilet seat. You were dealing with that
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
COVID. People,
Yeah.
oh, well, you
Yes.
can't get it if you're so and so, or I'm immune. My blood type is O positive. I'm good. People were
Yep.
making some of the most stupid statements. And so we were constantly
Yep.
on the phone. We had our news director working overtime. She would stay on from 6 a.m., often not go off until 4 or 5, just compiling information on what actually was happening. And I think that, if 2020 taught us anything, it's the same as what we learned during 9/11. These times separate the men from the boys, the women from the girls, when it comes down to
Yes.
radio talent that are able to transition. They may not be able to play as many records. I remember I was doing afternoons on 9/11 and years ago in Buffalo, New York, and I
Yeah.
remember having to take all the music off. And I'm like, I've never done a talk show. What the hell do I say?
Yeah.
Because, people are calling in, you had a lot of copycats. I was in Buffalo, New York. They were calling in threats to Buffalo City Hall. And finally, one of the city councilmen, he's mayor today, called and said, hey, man, I'm coming down the station. You guys need some information. I said, absolutely, please. Took off all the music, and for the next 3 hours tried to calm people down and tell people, hey, we will get through this. We had never had an attack on American shores before. All of a sudden, we look like parts of Ukraine or parts of Kenya during a couple of their terrorists,
Yeah.
Somalia. all of a sudden we were them. And America had always been, I think, a bit arrogant on those things. Oh, we can't be attacked. Oh, everybody loves us, everybody needs us, no one will touch us. And I
Yeah.
think 9/11 was a rude awakening that terror can happen anywhere, and it must be stomped out before it happens. You can't continue to believe that you're immune because you're Switzerland and neutral, or you have the mightiest military of all. It doesn't matter. It can
Yeah.
hit you at any time. So having talent that can stay calm, helping our talent with actionable, factual information, all of those things
Yeah.
were, I'd say it kept us up a lot at night. And thankfully, we had a
Yeah.
full management team of people helping me. I'm helping others, and we all work collectively to try and help our listeners get through what's been the toughest year for just about everyone's life.
Yeah, I can imagine. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll continue talking about talent. We're still on the Boss Moves Media Show here at Nonala Dose, all social media platforms, also live on bossmovesmedia.com. We're chatting to Skip Dillard, and we'll be back just now. Don't go anywhere.
I'm Skip Dillard, Program Director of WBLS and WLIB, and you are locked. For me, radio is about having a voice. It's about being able to affect people, change communities. And probably for me, I was so drawn in to radio growing up. It was such a big part of my life. It was something I always had an interest in, even though if I would pursue it as a career. I didn't know how to at the time, but as a kid, it's something I always seemed to see as more of a brand than a static thing.
All right, so we're back again. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the Boss Moves Media Show. We have the incomparable Skip Dillard on the line. Now, Skip, let's talk about talent, right? To be behind the scenes or not to be? That is the question.
That's a good question. It's one of the tougher ones that I'll be honest, I get asked, and I tell people always, I think it's do you cut through? I was always a good DJ on air, or air talent, or air personality. I don't think I was a great one. And, I was always one of those that unless I see myself as being able to be at the top, that means do mornings and make a living just off of that. And it just wasn't coming that way for me. I didn't feel like it
Yeah.
was early on, although I loved on air. I loved the ability to connect with people. I enjoyed every bit of the live remotes and broadcasting concerts, and still attend all of those things. But, for me personally, I said, I'm always interested in the science of radio. I was always the guy that instead of being on the dance floor was in the DJ booth unseen playing the music. And so, the science of listening was important to me. But I think for any talent
Yes.
that says, I want to be on air, it's do you cut through? Can you cut through the clutter? What makes you unique? If you look at any of the industry publications in the United States, you'll see massive layoffs of DJs. And a good number of them were fortunate enough before technology to do overnights, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Some of them staying at a station doing overnights for 30 years. Never really good enough to move out of that, or compelling enough, let's say. You can be good enough, but not, you just don't break through. You don't cut through. People don't find you compelling enough that you rise to the level almost of the music. It just doesn't happen. So, you have to be, I think, true to yourself. And I'd say, for every, oof, 25 resume and air checks I get, there would be maybe one I would consider, maybe
Oh,
consider.
wow.
That's how tough it is because you have to have a sound. You have to have a ability to connect, and you can have all the great content. You meet authors, you read every word like it's gold. It just but they get on the air. It just
Crickets.
no. And guess what? Everybody is not meant to be in front of the camera or behind the
Yes.
microphone. And
And I think that's the great misconception of our industry, right? I mean, you find people, especially so in music, music is one of those where people who are behind the scenes are probably more successful than the musicians themselves. And you deal with quite a lot of that, where you find that musicians, and here in South Africa especially, die paupers because they lived this lavish life and they didn't save and they didn't plan ahead. Then comes so in that situation, I mean, what would your advice be to musicians, especially because you find that now during the pandemic they've been hardest hit?
Yeah. I mean, musicians have had a tough time. In fact, I talked to a famous artist manager who manages several, I mean, pretty hefty talent that have been around for years, make tons of money. And he said his average artist was living off about 20% of their normal income.
Sure.
Money for artists in this country entirely touring. In the UK, Canada, there are subsidies for artists that are not working. They're living wages that are paid out by the government. Here we have nothing. If you're an artist, it is up to you to hustle and grind. The biggest
Just
thing
like
I
you.
Oh yeah, biggest thing I could tell for any artist, it's that finding a hit record, and there's a string of artists, and I can tell you that, oh, this is Clive Davis's find, who ran Arista Records and big record guy, RCHA Records. So oh, Clive is this person that's going to be the biggest smash in the world, and for every Alicia Keys, there are 50 of those.
Yeah.
There are 50 divas for every Patti LaBelle, and 100 divas, 1,000 divas. And
Yes.
everybody's picked a click. Everybody's going to be the biggest thing. But, finding a record that stands the test of time, it is like making the NFL or NBA or pro soccer, or it's like winning the lottery. It's
Yes.
hard.
One in a million. No,
One
it
in a
is. It's tough.
million. Yeah, and there are a million songwriters and publishers, but finding the right song for the right artist. And I remember talking to Boys to Men years ago and asking, I believe Wanye, I said, dude, where's the magic? What do you have to do? He said, dude, it's
Mm.
timing, right place, right time. We just
Yes.
happened to be there when Michael Bivins was looking and said, oh, sing for me real quick. You sing a cappella, sing now. He said it's all timing. So you can have great records, great. There are a lot of albums that get shelved and never get put out by the label. The label signs one lady, and then they find you, and oh, she's the big one, and the other person never got their album put out, and years
Mm.
later you find out there were a couple of gems that would have been massive hits. So it's really timing. But I tell every artist today, it's really keep your hustle on, live within your means, realize that, and I know a few, as soon as you get your record deal, you can't go buy mama a house when you've got a $7,000 mortgage yourself now, and you can't go buy your sister and brother houses, and support everybody, and because you have to have money for when the tours aren't happening, like right now,
Yeah.
when you are dropped from your label deal and can't put out anything and have to do it on your own, which requires you to put out the money. But I mean,
Yeah, but I mean,
like that.
Skip, it's a tough one because we talk about black tax, right? And where you have to pay it forward because of the people who helped you get to where you are.
Yeah.
And I guess for these musicians, that's exactly what they're doing, and maybe they're doing a bit too much and they're going overboard with it.
Mhm.
But we tend to live beyond our means.
Oh, they do, and and you have to understand it's because they see, what the music business projects. I mean, you want to project success, you want to show the very best of the best. But I die laughing when a 38-year-old rapper, hey man, I'm trying to break open this rap career, dude. You're looking at Jay-Z. He's one of a kind.
Yeah. Yeah.
For every one of him, there are a million that don't get there. that don't make it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I think a lot of it is, once you start to get some small amount of success, it's also, figuring out who can come with you. Not everybody that you grew up with, your boy on the street, and a lot of, especially the rappers, get in trouble because they still keep the same people they were on the
Yeah,
corner with when times were hard. And
yeah.
yeah, you can help them, but bringing these people out to LA with you and New York and going to Africa on tour, when they've got criminal records and they don't have the same morals that you have, they don't have the same, I guess you could say, self assurance that you have. A lot of these people, they put themselves down quickly, not just by their spending, but by having to go bail the boys out all the time, or
The company they
oh
keep. Yeah.
yeah, got I know a couple got, we were talking about one the other day, 7 kids by 4 different women. Yeah, how you gonna make any money? Every time a record come out, everybody going to court. Everybody,
Gee whiz.
because you got to pay for them
Yeah.
kids. I remember seeing one rapper and get a kid look like a school. It's like, dude, what are you doing?
That is hilarious.
Come on.
He's got an entire creche, a kindergarten right there.
Love kids, but not by 8 different women. Come on.
Yeah, yeah,
Ooh.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, speaking of rappers and just the lifestyle, in South Africa, we play a lot of American music, right? Maybe too much. And most of it is rap music and R&B, but mostly rap music.
Yeah.
So we find that while we play so much hip hop here in South Africa, we hardly get any of our music played in America. How can South African musicians break through that ceiling?
Well, we started an Afrobeat show, and we do play a couple of South African artists as well.
Yes.
Just Afrobeat at 11 p.m. Eastern in New York time in on BLS at 11 p.m. to midnight. That show actually has hit number one a couple of times. That's out of 90
Nice.
stations in the market. There's a hunger for African music. We have seen more and more U.S. artist influence. But I think the big thing once we get through COVID is you have to have more artists like Drake and Alicia Keys coming over there to visit. If they come over to visit and connect with the
Yeah.
lifestyle, with the music, the culture, that music will start coming home pretty quickly. I mean, Davido has a new album out tonight, and I can tell you, we'll be playing at least one of the tracks on our station. In fact,
Nice.
the hip hop stations are starting in the Northeast, starting to, have quite a few of the Nigerian artists, coming up. Where WizKid's been involved for years with the, U.S. hip hop scene, and DJ Tunes and others that are starting to, really, kind of punch into the market. Tiwa Savage. I mean, there are many. Um,
Yeah.
I think though that when at least last couple times I've been in South Africa, I've heard more hip hop coming out of the South Africa region, and more of the R&B influenced music in Congo and Nigeria. So it's pretty interesting. It's very diverse, and I was surprised just listening to a couple of playlists, and I was hearing stuff from like Botswana, and I'm sitting here like, wow, there's a lot of stuff out here. Some of it from jazz to, there are a couple salsa groups in the Congo, and I was like, where did this come from? But it's,
Yeah.
until you get out a little bit and even do some international playlist, listening. The more you find that, hey, there's some things that will definitely work. The U.S. labels are very interested. They're setting up from South Africa to Nigeria, and I think that's going to help as well. But the big
Yeah.
thing is getting influential American artists over there. Ghana's
Yeah.
really doing a great job at New Year's with their whole come home movement that they've got in Ghana, and I think you need to establish that for the arts and culture industry in South Africa. Definitely
Absolutely.
get people to come over, and I tell everybody, my goal is to also see Nigeria. Probably I'm supposed to go actually last month. Hopefully next year I'll see Nigeria. I've been to South Africa twice now. I want to come back to South Africa and see Nigeria as well. But I think you have to go to, from people I've talked to that have traveled extensively in Africa, you've got to hit about 4 or 5 countries before you really start to see how unique the music offerings are, and yet how palatable and favorable they'll be to American audiences once we hear some of this.
Absolutely love that. When we come back from the break, Skip, I really want us to talk about, your role, the role that you play in the Black Chamber of Commerce, and also you spoke about how we need to start creating platforms where we, bring people from America. There's like this exchange, and we can build a bridge. So I want us to talk about that when we come back from the break. This is the Boss Moves Media Show. We do have Skip Dillard on the line, and we are inviting you to ask all the questions. I see questions already coming in through our chat. So wherever you are tuning in from on our social media platforms at Nonala Dose and also on the website, bossmovesmedia.com, ask away. Skip is here to answer them all.
I'm Skip Dillard, Program Director of WBLS and WLIB, and you are locked. For me, radio is about having a voice. It's about being able to affect people, change communities. And probably for me, I was so drawn in to radio growing up. It was such a big part of my life that it was something I always had an interest in. Did not even know if I would pursue it as a career. Didn't know how to at the time, but as a kid, it's something I always seemed to see as more of a friend than than a static thing.
So we're back again. This is the Boss Moves Media Show. We still have Skip on the line, and I am asking your questions on all of our social media platforms. So please make sure that you ask away. So, Skip, now I'm really grateful that you keep, putting me on to all of this content and information overload that's happening in America right now. I was telling you earlier that America, especially Black people in America, appear to be in a state of awakening. And it's just so beautiful to watch. I mean, we're seeing people who are really taking their liberation into their own hands. And that's something that I haven't actually seen Black people do in the world. So you are leading us when it comes to, because I can tell you for free that here in South Africa, we're still pretty much even scared to talk about Black. You cringe. You talk about Black business and how to empower Black people, and we're still very uncomfortable with that. How did you get past that as Black Americans,
I
African
think
Americans?
Well, I think, I credit it to my father, my grandfather, my grandfathers on both sides. My mother's father became an attorney at 45 years of age and was a successful real estate attorney after saying he was tired of being last hired, first fired. He was everything from a sky cap at the airport to a postman to a streetcar driver, and he just got tired of being treated horribly. When he was a postman, all the white neighborhoods he delivered mail in, people would choose to let their German shepherds and big dogs out as soon as they come walking down the street with their
Yeah.
mail. That was amazing. But my grandfather on the other side was in rural North Carolina and was principal of a colored high school. When the white school down the street got up buses, he would get a flatbed truck for his students, and truck gets stuck in the mud. The kids were so, determined to learn, they get out and push the truck out of the mud and come to school all muddy. And he was able to send 1,000 young men and women to college, with very limited resources, hand-me-down books. But that determination, although my grandfather, my father's side, died when I was 2, I felt
Yeah.
like I knew him well because so many of his students would come to me when I was growing up and tell me stories about my grandfather and how he changed their lives. And they
Yeah.
would have been out picking tobacco somewhere had it not been for him saying that you will get out of Yanceyville, North Carolina, and you'll live your dreams. And so I think, today, especially dealing with 4 years of the Trump administration, we were reminded that at any time, things the clock can turn back. And I think we had gotten comfortable, especially during the Obama years, and believed that we overcame. But if you still go into the boardrooms of just every significant company in America today, just like I'm sure you have the same problem in South Africa. The people that make the decisions, they don't look like us. They
Oh
don't.
yeah.
The media, I don't care if it's,
Yep.
the biggest networks or the smallest. And so we've got a long way to go. And it's not just diversity. It's not just recognizing we exist, but allowing us in the door. It's being in the
Yeah.
room where it happens. It is
Yeah.
about inclusion. And so you do have a sense of that. And I think that, in many ways, for me, being able to travel, I tell everybody, from traveling in the Caribbean to having been on the African continent, you kind of have to go back to your roots a bit to really
Yeah.
start to understand, just what it's about. And you always find that support, and that those days in Johannesburg, you find a sense of home, even though
Yes.
you may not have ever been there before. And so you see more people getting interested in taking the extra few hours on a flight. And I laughed because a trip to Johannesburg is cheaper than a trip to Miami. And you just got to sit on a plane for 15 hours, and you'll never have any day in which you'll say, wow, I wish I could buy that here, or I missed that here. I mean,
Yeah.
people have no idea until they go. and
Yeah.
and you then all of a sudden you come back and you're like, wow, I'm meeting people that own businesses. I'm meeting people that go through the same challenges we have. I'm meeting people that are telling me about the challenges of a school teacher in inner city Johannesburg, and things that we have to fix. I didn't know a mile outside of Santon, which looks like Rodeo Drive, that you've got
Yeah.
people that don't have running water. And so it's like, wow, we got the same problem in Brownsville, Brooklyn, when you go to downtown Brooklyn, and
Right.
people are living in $8 million apartments. So you do feel a sense of connection. You do feel a sense of re connecting with people that you don't even know. And it's like, wow,
Yes.
these people not only look just like me, but we share similar experiences, and there's an emotional, spiritual meeting of the minds, and you never quite forget it. I look fondly at every day I get to spend, on your shores.
Yeah. Do you personally, you said your roots are Caribbean. Is that what you said, Skip?
No, actually African, and
Oh,
I
yeah?
did ancestry Nigerian, believe it or not. Yeah,
Wow.
Nigerian, and Massa was from Scotland, very likely from what I could see. My
That's
mother's great grandmother is
amazing.
Cherokee Indian, so we have Native American in the family too.
That is incredible. Have you been to Nigeria?
No, I can't wait to go. I hear
Me
I must
too.
visit. I said I'm gonna get off the plane in a nice dashiki, and my brothers and sisters said
Yes,
didn't recommend I do that, but
Amanda.
no, but I am going. I definitely want to
I
go.
love
And
that. I
the
love
needs.
that. That's amazing. And then, I mean, when you're talking about black business and just us as black people, really, identifying ourselves as worthy and really just capable of doing great things and taking up space and having these opportunities of taking on major positions in companies and so forth. How do you pay it forward? If you're a person of influence, you're in a high position, how do you personally pay it forward?
I think it's connecting people to opportunities. I'm a member of several boards, including the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce and the
Yes.
American Foundation for the University of the West Indies. We're the fundraising arm in the U.S. for all of the UE campuses from Jamaica to Antigua. And, it's really trying to find ways to empower people by connecting them with financial resources, by connecting them with, through our internship programs at the station. The ability to give back is endless. In fact, I remember having dinner with an executive in the record industry years ago, and he's like, "Dude, when have I paid my dues?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, everybody's asking me for something. I said, "Well, dude, that's
Right.
the lesson of having something. If you ain't have nothing, when nobody bother you." I said, the
Yeah.
way to end that is to lose everything, and then nobody will bother you anymore. I said, but
Right.
when you're blessed to have something, Jesus,
Yeah.
I would assume that people would be asking you
Yeah.
for help. But yeah, I think the best way to pay it forward is by mentoring as many people as you can. I have many that I count as mentees, across the globe, and whether it's email or whether it's dinner once a month and they're close by, or lunch or
Mm.
whatever, or coffee. Mentoring on a Zoom link. I try to connect with as many people as I have time, and I make time for more. Just if it may be a one-time greeting on 5 minutes of advice on just landing a job and what you needed to do in the interview, but always happy to offer. And I think that God kind of leads you to people that you really need to help you without you even looking for those people. They just tend
Yeah.
to appear, and it's like, where'd you come from? What? But it's always a part of the job. And as a program director, that's one thing I enjoy the most. The ability to make a positive difference in the world. And I programmed just the most gutter ghetto hip hop stations you've heard in the world, but
Yeah.
I always love the fact that we were able to counter the music by giving people access to information and empowerment and opportunity.
Yeah. So, do you have a mentor?
Many.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have tons, starting from when
So
I
how do you approach, because a lot of people struggle with approaching people and asking them to be their mentors, and a lot of the time there's rejection, and the fear of rejection. How do you approach people to be your mentors?
I think it's just establishing a connection. I think when you talk to somebody, you can see whether or not very quickly they'll be willing to talk to you again or be willing to offer any advice. Once I find those people, I send an immediate email if they have a card, or I will sometimes look them up and just, say, "Hey, great seeing you at the gala last night. Always admired what you did on, something specific. Maybe it was a certain project they worked on and they talked about how proud they were. Establishing that connection and not kissing butt or making somebody feel like you're trying to, move in on them or whatever on their space, but just being really sincere about it and just saying, "Hey, I would love to pick your brain on advice for so and so once in a while," and just see what they say. Sometimes they won't answer at all, but I was blessed many times people did. And So it's not really, hey, would you be my mentor? But
Yeah.
it's just really trying to establish people
Sure.
that you see as I've met some people. I'm like, wow, morally, I definitely don't want to be talking a year behind. You had to get to know that, with him or
Yeah.
her, and so I think just establishing those connections and cultivating them by reaching out and seeing what comes back. And very often, when people see you're sincere, the good ones, the ones that matter, that can matter in your life, will say absolutely. I'm hosting something and save the ticket for you. Definitely, let's talk afterwards as well.
Yeah. Before we go to the break, our final break in the last 15 minutes, how do you then schedule all these mentees in your tight schedule? Because you have a pretty tight schedule, Skip, but you find time to mentor people. How do you do that?
Well, it's keeping calendar. I'm a social person. I enjoy getting out, and if I can kill two birds with one stone, if I want
Yeah.
coffee in the afternoon, I know usually afternoon I'm burnt out coffee, so I'll say, hey, meet me at Starbucks for 20
Yes.
minutes if you're in the area. But really, it's the phone, email, DM, Facebook, whatever. I think it's just making time, and I try to work ahead. I work a lot at night while the little one's asleep. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
getting ahead so you do have a few minutes during the day in which you're not so overwhelmed that you do have a
Mhm.
second. Because I found that, I usually am better at what I do once I've had good, meaningful conversations with others.
Oh man, I love that. That is so selfless. So we are going to our final break. When we come back, we're going to talk to Skip about, the digital world moving forward, where he sees our industry going, because we have been thrust into this new world. And I'm also taking all of your questions. This is the Boss Moves Media Show. We've got Skip Dillard on the line, and we'll be back in just a sec. All right, so we're back. This is the Boss Moves Media Show. I have one of my favorite people in the world,
Thank you.
Skip. Thank you so much, first of all, for being part of this. It means a whole lot. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thanks,
So
man.
on our chats, connecting via YouTube, we've got Ntomgaise Piwi says she's actually my colleague on Radio 2000. She does the 9 to 12 o'clock show. An incredible lady. She says New York and Johannesburg radio broadcasters absolutely love this, and I can just see her being excited. Thank you so much for joining us. I also have another one here from Felix. Felix is on Instagram, and Felix wants to know, how do I start podcasting and using it as a platform to get my talent noticed?
I think it is, and we're going to talk about the future. I think podcasting is a big part of it. I am one that believe our next wave of new talent, fresh talent in the business will probably come through podcasting
Yes.
because when I started out, it was always, hey, work overnights, work during holiday weekends, Super Bowl, and here's
Yeah.
your opportunity to get on the radio. Well, today, those jobs are automated, and in
Yes.
many cases, voice tracked by a talent that works Monday through Friday. So, you have to figure out how to be creative. The beauty of podcasting is that, the kits can be bought at your local electronics store, usually very cheaply. In fact, I just purchased one. I'm going to dabble in it myself, and about $600 US, including everything from the cords to the mic to the board to the computer links, all that. And so, you can set up a home studio on your kitchen table and really get
Yeah.
started. But, there are very few podcasters that are going to download enough to make you money. You need 85, 90,000 downloads a month. Not everybody's going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
However, sharing this week's podcast update on social media and coming up with unique niche, which you first need to do. If you're just talking about what happened in entertainment this week, good luck. There are a million of those. But look at a niche. What's something? Maybe it's small business and or women's empowerment. Maybe it is, self motivation, or, a podcast about dating and COVID. Maybe if you're a single person,
Yeah.
finding that niche and then, utilizing your social media to throw your links up every week. You never know who may hear you, and
And how,
ask your
yeah.
friends to post it.
How
That's really
incredible.
an opportunity.
Yes, and it's amazing how the power has really been brought back into our hands as content creators, because literally the platforms are here. We don't need the expensive equipment and studios that we used to, need, and now it's no man's land, really.
It is, and many of our talent broadcasts from home due to COVID, and I think there are going to be many of our broadcasters that are going to be negotiating very shortly smaller studio space, because you're just not going to
Ah,
need that many people physically in every day.
sure. And I'm thinking of my broadcaster, SABC, with this huge building. So we might not even need that anymore, right?
No, because because of the quality of microphones and computer interfaces,
Yeah.
you can have a studio sound with a couple of pieces of soundproofing in your little cubby or area, and you'd be surprised what people are repurposing as little studios, their kids' play area, or going
Yes.
kitchen, or their
The
basement.
living room.
Yeah, I'm sitting on top of my piano practically. This is my
Hey,
space, and
speaking of which, you are a classical pianist. That is amazing. I have heard you play and you are good.
well,
Oh my
thank you,
goodness. When
thank you.
did you start playing piano? I mean, that is incredible.
Was 8. I took lessons at 8, probably
I
about
can
that.
tell.
Yeah, it
I
took
can
three.
tell. That's been a while. That's amazing. So, I mean, now that we've got the digital platforms there in the open for us to use, and we have a platform to get a lot of people connected from all around the world. How do we still keep, that kind of content local and localize it and make sure that we're speaking to our people while attracting others?
I think that, that is one of radio's biggest advantages. And we talked about personality being one, but number one is being local. Local radio still matters big time. And it will continue to matter because there'll always be a desire of people to connect, you know, nationally and worldwide, but that personal local connection, people that know the area, neighborhood you live in, that know what's going on within driving distance or walking distance, even this weekend, where you can get a good deal on something close to your home. Those things are still very important and most
Yeah.
important to advertisers. But I think in terms of keeping things local, if you're a national host or heard in 4 cities or countries or whatever, I think the use of social media properly is one way
Yes.
to do it. You're able to focus and be a little hyper local, utilizing your Instagram or your Facebook or your Twitter and all the other platforms that we tend to go to, TikTok, whatever. But that's a big key to remaining local if you're not able to do so on the air.
So, I mean, you're speaking of social media and utilizing it in a productive way. What best image do we portray on social media? Personal life? Do people want to get to know us personally, or do you find that professional, profiles are the best, especially for people like you who usually scout for talent?
I think a mix of the moment. I look for people that are well rounded. it's sort of like a politician. You're always running for office. So, to give an example, Nelson Mandela, Bill Clinton, certainly Barack Obama, and there are other world leaders that had this trait. But the great ones were at home on the golf course. They were at home talking world affairs. They were at home at the UN. They were at home at a jazz concert. So it's being able to speak on a variety of topics and subjects. Um, being able to, if you're posting yourself in a cool, sexy dress 1 minute, it's being able to post about something seriously you're addressing in South Africa the next. It's
Yeah.
having that diversity and rising to the moment. If there's an
Yes.
election in South Africa, um, I would not be expecting. You wouldn't do this, but I wouldn't be expecting a woman. Hey, look at my new short shorts, and you just got this huge election going on. It's like, okay, I really want to hire this person. Kind of doesn't get it,
Yeah.
but it's being about what's happening at the moment. And there's a time for that. Maybe you've had the warmest day you've had, and yeah, it's time for those short shorts because everybody's trying to stay cool. But again, if you got something big going on, like the movement to end violence against women, domestic
Yeah.
violence, I would expect to see that, which I did on your gram, and
Mm.
that's what makes people say, wow, this is a well-rounded person. God forbid we have another COVID crisis or another 9/11. This person's going to be able to shut the records down. They're not going to be able to gossip about what Cardi B did this hour or Megan the Stallion, and can actually calm people down, give them action, factual information, and help them get through this. And that's what makes the difference in terms of successful social media. Yeah, you're fun, you're cool, but you also are able to give people personal moments. Maybe it's you in a quiet space with the little one, or it's you out at a remote. And it may be you posting, hey, this is a protest over wages or whatever the challenge is you're
Yeah.
going through. But I think a well-rounded person is the kind of person that succeeds best in this business always.
Yeah. Absolutely. What trends are you seeing right now for our business? What do you project when you put on your clairvoyant glasses? What do you see?
I see people that can do multiple jobs. I think that, you are, back to the time in which, because of the downturn in advertising during COVID, you're going to have a lot of people that were furloughed, laid off, that are not going to be brought back right away. So you're going to have people that may come from content that are working in marketing to assist and keep things going on. You may have one less sales manager, meaning that the director of sales, or they're going to have to do more. The general manager may be out closing sales deals. The DJs may be taking on some more responsibilities because there's not the excess of cash to go out and keep as many people. But I think, people that are open-minded, that find creative ways to innovate a business that is notoriously slow to innovate, those are the people that are going to be around. I think people that also can utilize the newer technologies like podcasting, web radio, they're going to be also able to become very valuable to these companies. Podcasting is still just an offshoot of radio, and it is radio.
Yes.
You're going to start seeing in a very short time, it's already happening, and it's not just Apple Radio and Apple Music, but Spotify is starting to offer spoken word content. Pandora is following suit. You're going to see all of these companies utilizing people like yourself on video interviews so they can do exclusives with artists. You're going to start seeing people that are announcing between the records, that are talking about new albums with an artist. So, the DJ thing is going everywhere. And
Yeah.
so why can't you be a part of that? In many cases, in fact, I remember a record executive talking to me a few years ago. He said, dude, people worry me about a programming job that's open in Cleveland, and there are 10 of those type of jobs open on Spotify right now. They just got to go to the website and apply. But
Wow.
nobody thinks that way. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I want to be on Radio 2000 in the morning with Nala. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. But guess what? You got a budget. You may not be able to add another person
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever. So, don't be afraid to look a little bit outside. Like Audible that does audio books here in the US. They're right here in Newark, New Jersey. You gotta see their website. Jobs all the time. Crazy
Sure.
jobs. Stuff that people
Wow.
would want to do. Content. You need content for
Content.
spoken word and audio, creating books. Colin Kaepernick, who is kind of one of my favorite people,
Yes.
was blacklisted from the NFL. He just got to
Yes.
deal with Audible. He'll be producing books by numerous people.
He's
So,
fine. He's
but see, that's
fine.
the thing, and
Yeah.
yeah, but there are so many jobs that are media oriented that we don't even think about. That
Yeah.
and you'd be surprised when you look out there. It's like, wow. Our horizons are pretty broad. Ebro, that does our morning show at Hot 97, is also a director of content at Apple Music, and
Yeah.
for Apple Radio, So, I mean, you'd be really, he's the, I think, international curator for hip hop and R&B.
Yes. And I
Huge.
mean, speaking of which, I'm getting a timeout because we have to go to the news if we were on live radio. But quickly, just with what you're saying, audio is really the future of our business, right? And it reminds me of a dear friend of mine that I met with you, actually, Chris Mercado, who
Yeah,
spoke. So he's actually now working for Amazon and
he's at
he's doing
Amazon.
great things,
Yeah,
right?
working with
Um,
Alexa and making more
Exactly,
Mandalorian.
right? That's the future. And Alexa will need to have the African languages and the little all of that beauty that is
Mhm.
African. So it's definitely coming. I have to say though, before we go, tell us a little bit about Circle of Sisters. How can we get how can we be part of it?
Sure. Circleofsisters.com. We have a 50% off sale. Tickets are like super cheap this
Yeah.
weekend. So, circleofsisters.com. It's next week, November 20th and 21st. We have, we do have a African music set. One of our DJs, John Quick, and we have performances from Hezekiah Walker, Skip Marley, CC Winans,
Nice.
Steve Harvey's giving our keynote, Tamron Hall, who does a big daytime talk show here in the U.S., Johnny Gill, Ralph Tresvant. We've got an exciting, panels, the State of Black America, which is going to be really interesting with Reverend Al Sharpton and Benjamin Crump, who is an attorney that's represented clients against police brutality and police departments around the country. So there's going to be a lot, especially women's empowerment, everything from yoga to business opportunities, mommies and millennials, which we do every year with Shayla, our midday host at
Yeah.
BLS, to talk about being a mama in
You know?
2020, whatever. So we're gonna have a good time next week, and this event's been around for about 17 years. This is the first
Yeah.
time it will be virtual for obvious reasons, COVID. But we actually hope to be back next year. And I told you, we hope to get you over next year and do a panel and
Absolutely.
bring
I'm
South
there.
Africa to the US. We got to do it. Got it.
Thank you so much. You are incredible. I really love chatting to you, especially on this platform. I appreciate you being part of this. And I hope to see you soon. Come to South Africa. We're
Me
waiting.
too.
I'm
I
coming to
cannot
America.
wait to come back. If I tell you, if I was single, I'd have never left. I'd have been like, look, I've
It's
been
all
going to
these
government.
responsibilities.
I'll find something to do. I'll be a good citizen. But these women over here, I'm not leaving.
Thank you, Skip. We love you so much and
Love
really
you.
appreciate your time.
Take care.
All right, then. That's the Boss Moves Media Show with Skip Dillard. He has been incredible, amazing. And thank you for joining us. Hashtag Boss Moves Media Show at Nonala Tose on all social media platforms, bossmovesmedia.com. We're back again next week, Friday, 4 p.m., with another amazing person that you are going to draw from. So I really hope you enjoyed this. It will be live. Well, it is live, but it will be on all social media platforms following this broadcast. Thank you. I love you. God bless. Bye.